for me, it all came down to, I guess, keeping myself busy during the winter. The winter months up here can be pretty brutal, as everybody who lives up here knows. I was kind of new to it. More or less, first winter, we kind of suffered with having baseboard electric heat. And we kept those thermostats at like 50, 55 because the bill was so freaking expensive.
Yeah.
So I learned, like, keep yourself busy during the winter. It keeps you warm, which is crazy. So the next winter, I went out and got a camera. I started doing some landscape photography and going with that. And then I started to kind of see more on the surreal side of things, as far as like different photographers and things, and took some inspiration from them to kind of just do something a little bit different. And I've always kind of been drawn to like practical effects, classic horror movies, John Carpenter's The Thing. And those movies always blew me away by the fact that they made things look more real than they do now with the CGI effects.
Oh, absolutely.
Just for the fact
I
that
prefer
it's
practical effects.
So I really wanted to do something with that. So I started kind of working with different materials and building like small things and just kind of going from there. And then that led to building masks and making headpieces and really trying to just take things that have happened in my life and put them into some kind of, I guess, physical form in a different sense, but something that anybody can look at and relate to in a different way. So, it's just like with music, you can listen to music and pick up on certain things that maybe the artist wants you to hear, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to interpret differently. And that's what I like about music. And that's what I also like about photography, is people pick up on different things. And, those that can see through it, I've got nothing but respect to you, because that is the thing that blows me away. Is if someone can look at my photos and exactly tell me what's wrong, with me, it breaks me down, man. It's like it's on a deeper level of just, I don't know.
Yeah, if somebody can pick up on the subliminal message behind your art, even if it's being, say, slightly veiled in lyrics through a song, or even looking at a piece of visual art and interpreting, at least within a close proximity of what you were going for, or even what you were feeling at the time, then that's an unspoken bond that goes, like I said, deeper. It's deeper than words can actually express. Because it's kind of that moment right there where you see me, like you fully see me, not veiled version, not physical version. You see the true sense of self. That's one thing that I've always loved about visual art, and just trying to looking and seeing the deeper interpretation of things. And I think it's what has always attracted, or rather continues to attract me to your work, is there's just these beautiful dark images. You have this great dichotomy happening. The contrast is truly unique to itself. It doesn't seem like regurgitation of somebody else's work. It's honestly, in a true sense, it's truly unique to you. It's very original, and it's refreshing, honestly.
It's and the thing is, like I stated before, is you gotta not overthink things, and you kind of gotta be natural about them. I guess over the past year and a half, I guess I started not last summer, but the spring before that, is I kind of gave myself, each prop that I have has a certain meaning to me. So the props that I use, I won't use a prop unless I can connect with it in some way. So I have to find some kind of connection. So what I do now is kind of go out on the spot and let myself in that moment create the photo that's in my head, as far as what everything comes together, and then whatever comes out. And that's the most natural form that you can possibly get of what, as far as the stuff that I've been putting out in the past year and a half, is just on the spot, natural. Or if it is like a new headpiece, it's I try to make it as organic as possible, with incorporating nature into it, which nature has been a huge part of my life, and a huge part of everything artistically that I've done is very rooted in nature.
And it's definitely, it absolutely shows. Like, it's your sense to maintain this organic connection to the world around you. And it's a lot of, and like I said, where a lot of people are living in that digital age, it's refreshing. It's literally like taking a walk through a park, it's looking through some of your work. It's literally like going outside and getting a breath of fresh air, because you allow yourself
it's
to be
sort of,
non-organic.
but when you're like working events and things and having people look at your artwork, you have to constantly explain to people that it's using like practical effects. Like, there is no Photoshop. Like, everybody that ever looks at any kind of artwork nowadays is automatically assuming that you use Photoshop. So a lot of stuff doesn't.
I honestly did the first time I was looking through it, and I thought that you were using post editing techniques on it, and I was dead wrong. And I was very surprised just because the level of quality that you're exporting is just, it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Did you have a couple of props that you've made?
I do. So I have a couple masks. I'm actually trying to get rid of some because I need to make some room for possibly some new pieces. So just got a couple of them. This one here, this is probably the second one that I made. It's called The Gaze. I did a couple Oahk promos with it. So it's
And are you using latex based?
No, majority of them are made with it's a process called cloth mache.
Yep.
So take a bed sheet. The bed sheet you can rip up in strips, and then what you do with that is you actually dip it in like an Elmer's glue, and then the Elmer's glue actually hardens up, so it gives it a lot more structure and a lot more durability than, say, just like a paper mache with like maybe like a flour mixture and water. So that kind of, the only downfall is if it does get wet, like in this one here, the backside is still kind of the Elmer's glue. That Elmer's glue will come off because I actually shot with this one in the snow, and it definitely had like Elmer's glue all over my face still, so it's kind of fun. The second one I got is the umbilical one, which I think was like a third or fourth one I made. This one here, kind of just a take on, I kind of wanted to make an anglerfish.
Yep.
And I failed, and then I was like, I'm gonna make an anglerfish, and then I failed again, and then this came out of that. So it kind of is like a representation of like a different world. Like the spiral here is more of like kind of representative of a black hole in a head. So the thoughts kind of go to a different world. So yeah, that one was fun. I got this moss head thing that's kind of cool.
I really
So
like that one.
It's just all real moss kind of glued to a the same structure. Inside is the Elmer's glue and the just bed sheets. But yeah, I did 2 of those for a client, and that was pretty cool. So I'm just trying to get rid of one. I do really like this because it allows it to be a headpiece that's very organic in itself to the atmosphere that I'm working in, because I try not to use too many like man-made buildings or anything like that. So I try to keep things as natural as possible in the background. So the more natural and the head-wise, it's kind of the better. And I got 2 more. These kind of go as a pair. Got the moon.
Oh, very cool.
So it's all just clay for the face, and yep, same stuff. And then the sun, this one here is the sun. Kind of took inspiration from this from a Swan song called I Am the Sun, and from that kind of led to the point of making the moon, because when you have the sun you gotta have the moon, and they've kind of been companion pieces. I've only shot with both of them together once. Probably going to try to do it one more time before I get rid of them. But, in the meantime, we'll see.
That's phenomenal. You obviously have been staying very busy, very positive during all of these times. And you definitely, it sounds like you've got to work with some great people. You've be able to discover some great people along this amazing journey. Definitely sounds like it's very, very therapeutic for you as you've been going through this process here.
I can't do any of this stuff without other people, you know, as far as just passionate people that want to work with me. I don't really, as far as any kind of just freelance stuff, I don't really charge for, you know, as far as shooting and stuff, unless somebody wants something like custom made. You know, us as artists have to help other artists, and we can't have a community of people that want to be creative if everyone's looking to profit off of everybody. And we should support each other as far as, you know, hey, I'm putting this out, hey, I'm putting that out. Whether doing tape swaps or, you know, album swaps is great, and things like that. You know, showing up to shows and doing, you know, doing what you can to kind of build the community up. That's what makes art and not a business.
I honestly couldn't agree more, you know, and especially through all the different things, music or visual or photography, there's always going to be somebody there who's new and asking questions. And then there's also going to be the person that has 25 years experience on top of you, be more than willing to answer questions. They just didn't know that anyone was asking them, you know. And then biggest theme on here is, if, you know, if you're feeling that itch and you're feeling creative and there's somebody in your life that you want to connect to in a creative way, do it. You never know until you absolutely take a risk. And the worst thing anyone can say is no. And then your life isn't any different. You keep moving on and keep doing the things that you want to do.
No one's going to tell them no. Even the only person that's going to tell somebody no is themselves. And like I said, like before I was doing any of the creative conceptual things, I was doing landscape photography. You know, I was really enjoying that, but it wasn't really, you know, it's fun, but you don't get anything emotional out of it. You don't get that little connective piece of something saying, hey, I can put myself into this, and hey, you know, I'm not, you know, right. I need to heal myself. Like, how can I heal myself? And to heal yourself, in my sense, is to expose yourself. And whether it's exposing yourself and letting yourself be hidden still, or exposing yourself and completely letting yourself just be exposed.
Just dropping that veil, dropping that guard, and just letting your true self be seen. You know, and that's a very hard journey. It's, you know, it's not even a journey that everybody goes on even once in their life, nevertheless several times, and there's constantly the reshedding of their skin, that, you know, that self-evolution. But I think it's important, and especially now is, you know, a truly important time for self-reflection and evaluation, and then seeing what you can do to better and connect with the world around you. You know, everybody.
It's kind of a great thing of what's, you know, it's not a great thing in the sense that we have the pandemic going on, but I think it's really waking people up to the fact that we're all broken, and we're all broken in different ways. It's those that are realizing that we're broken and that are trying to change things than the people that are in denial and still kind of, I guess, kicking dirt up, you know, and no, it's not.
And being rooted in the past and just not wanting to change and make that hard step forward, because honestly they're comfortable. But, you know, hard work, it takes self-sacrifice. It takes, you know, it takes a hard step forward in order to actually progress. And, you know, and sometimes that's admitting that you might have been wrong at points in your life. And not people are hard and unwilling to do that, or at least in a larger grand sense of things. I've been seeing, unfortunately, a lot of people get rooted in the past lately, but for as many people like that, I see 10 to 100 people that are fighting tooth and nail to progress, you know, this human race that, you know, that we all are in, and we all, you know, have the same horse, the same bed in this. We all have the same risk involved, and it's good to see people that are trying to bring everyone together to a larger sense of self and community.
Yep. And there's a lot of people that are realizing that, you know, they were wrong on things, and I've been wrong in the past on a lot of stuff, but it takes a person to sit back and go, you know what, I was wrong on something and I need to do something to correct that. And if you don't have the willpower to do that, you're not going to have the willpower to do anything. If you can't come to terms and correct yourself, then you just become your own glorified God.
And you're right. And if you can't have that sense of atonement and just recognition, then you'll never grow. You'll never evolve. And it's a hard time, but I think you pointed it just wonderfully. It's some individuals have that larger sense of ego, and they can't have that ego death. I love that term.
But ego death.
Yeah. It's commonly a term associated to the psychedelic community. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. And some self-recognition happens while in the thrills of the psychedelic community. But I think where we're at now, I think this country is in a state of ego death and realizing that we're not what we thought we were. And I think some people are realizing that things are uglier than what they understood them to be. And I also think other people are realizing that there's something tremendously powerful happening, and there's this greater sense of community that's being built. Look at just the amount of positivity that's been gained with a week.
Oh yeah, I mean it's been 2 weeks now, I think, with everything, and the amount of positivity, it's been crazy. But also to something to mirror that is the amount of negativity, as far as the people that have been kind of like hiding out. They're starting to show their heads because I feel like they got to stick up for themselves, which is great because it then paints a target on them. Instead of you just hiding in the shadows, it allows them to kind of be like, hey, what's up? And I feel like it comes down to a lot of people saying, when it, like, say if it's like blood relatives, there's a lot of stuff now that people are kind of saying, you know what, blood doesn't matter. It really comes down to you as a person, what is good, what is bad, and then making the separation.
Absolutely. It's not a question. It's morals. It's ethics. It's morals. It's what's human.
It's
what's decent.
100%. I can't agree with you more than that. I mean, it really just comes down to ethics and morals. And I think a lot of the issue, and we're going to get political, I guess.
for a moment, we'll ride the line.
Yeah. No, it's just I think really what it comes down to is schooling and education. And there's just a lot of ignorant people, and it comes down to egos, and ignorant people seem to have the biggest egos.
And that's because everybody thinks that they know what's best. And when you think you know what's right, you're going to fight tooth and nail instead of just be like, you know what? I'm all ears, and I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to be an equal participant in this conversation. And I want to hear exactly what you have to say. I want to know where you're coming from with everything. And I want to learn. If people can shed that overall sense of right or superiority, that false sense of just one is better than another, and actually go in equally into the conversation with a willingness to learn, then maybe the world might become a better place.
I agree.
And it's hard, it's going to be an uphill battle, but I've gotten very angry with people, and I realize that's not the right angle to go about it, because you don't scold a child for not understanding the lesson that's being taught to them. That's not how you properly educate. That's how you create prejudice even more, unfortunately.
It is.
And
so there's a certain line that you got to draw, in the sense that if somebody doesn't want to listen to you, and it's not like you're lecturing them or anything, it's just the fact of having a conversation. And I've had plenty of conversations with people recently, and it really comes down to, listening to what the other person has to say. You're sitting down, having a talk, or whether you're doing instant, or you're like a messenger or whatever. When you have these people that are comment, bullies, in the sense that they don't want to listen, they want to put their input in, and then everything else just gets cut. And those are the people that, you know, they don't want to listen to anything else. And I might be wrong about a lot of the stuff that I believe, but if I might be wrong about a lot of the stuff that I believe, that other people can be wrong about the stuff that they believe, you know? What it comes down to is having an intellectual thought about things and saying it. I guess it's more of like, what's the word for it? I can't remember the word for it. I'm getting tired. Just not over analyzing things, but having more of a evaluation of stuff, rethinking things. When you say something, don't just say, you know, what you're thinking at that moment, because, you know, we're all idiots. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've said and done so many stupid things in my life, and I regret them. And they'll the types of things you think about at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Critical thinking. Nobody wants to critical think anymore, and I see it in my career as being a mechanic. There's just so many technicians out there that don't want to advance, and it comes down to critical thinking. And if that kind of attitude is your career and that's your money, you know, that's how you advance in life. If you could just given up on that to not try to advance in that, like, what else are you going to give up in life? You know, if you're not willing to grow as a person, which, you know, comes back to just evolving and growing and taking the inputs and outputs of your life and then analyzing that. It's more or less like things get dumped in and then you just shit them out, and then it just becomes, you know, just shit. Yeah, like nobody gets the nutrients of the information.
Well, and you're right, because it's kind of this, you know, use Chuck Palahniuk quote, you know, it's an instantaneous gratification generation. You know, we want it now, we wanted it 10 seconds ago, you know. So, and you having this level of impatience and an unwillingness to put in some of the, you know, to put in the work, or even be an equal participant in the conversation. You know, that's kind of where I draw the line. I'll be willing and try to be, you know, fairly, you know, I'll be kind and understanding to a degree, but really when it has no sense of morality, you know, then I just have no patience for it, nor do I think anybody should.
Yeah, and at that point too, it's you know, when it gets to a point where you lose that patience, you still kind of just take a step back. You know, you don't belittle somebody, because if you belittle anybody, it's kind of putting you on their level. You know, just throw your hands up and say, you know what, I can't do anymore. You know, I don't want to create any problems, and I don't want to create any rifts. So I'm literally going to take a step away, and that's also
that some, you know, and that's the thing with somebody, is they see it as just, you know, a big sign of defeat, but I'm just trying to be the bigger person in the moment and not engage and get what you really want out of the situation.
Yeah. It hurts your ego as well.
And it's hard, and that's the thing, is most people, they don't know when to step away. And it's easy because you have this at your disposal 24/7. And
but you know what else you can do with that is you can look for information that's not fake, that's actually true. You can do research on stuff, and it's amazing how quick you can find the information, and then